everybody. Welcome to today's class. We're going to give you a few minutes to file in. Let us know what questions you have while you are filing in, just to kick off and start doing some housekeeping. And if you have questions, if you miss anything, chime in and just let us know. But we're going to go ahead and dig in, and just I want to start off by acknowledging the people that showed up on Tuesday for our mastermind. It was a great conversation. It was phenomenal. I love it when you all show up and just ask questions and share. And so we wanted to acknowledge those of you that did. If you did not, we would highly recommend that you go back and you watch it. It is chock full of information from some phenomenal people that are in the team that are in the group that have some great insights to share. I know you will get something out of that. So go back, watch it. Thank you to those people that participated. We appreciate it. And if you all want to do that again, please, we are here for you and we will do it again. So if that's something, if you watch it or if you participated and you're like, let's do it again, we are willing to do that. We would love to open it up. Again, the difference between that and what we're doing here is we're opening it up. It's a conversation. People are all screens are there and you can have an open conversation. So please, if that's something that you're interested in, could help you and could benefit you, let us know. Number 2, we just wanted to check in with you all on your homework and see how you are doing, how everything has gone so far. We have been getting some comments, some messages in our inbox, some things in Messenger that are coming out of that. And we just want to make sure that you're making progress, right? A lot of people in that first assignment were like, well, I haven't had a chance to talk to my attorney this week. They've been on vacation or what have you, or I'm overwhelmed. I didn't, get it into my world and now I'm behind. I'm just going to pass it on. I'm just going to keep moving and not go back to that. It doesn't really matter. Don't minimize it. Any piece that has popped up for you along the way that has been homework or things that we've asked you to do, don't stay stuck in it. Don't just look at it as a task and think, oh, I just didn't get to it. I'm just going to move on. We promise that if you do that piece of it at work, it will provide clarity at some level for you, to empower you to continue pushing forward and moving on, and just really truly getting the roles that you're served for, not only the attorneys that you're working with, but the people that you are communicating with, the families, etc. It will make a difference by going through each of those activities.
Yes. So a few people said in the chat, yes, you would love another coaching session. So if you're just joining, we are going to do a bonus coaching session then. We'll schedule it and we'll put it in the group. Here's the thing. Next week, we are not having class, and we're going to put a comment in here. Kirsten's here, our admin. So Kirsten, make sure we put that up later today to remind people, because Rosalind and I are going to be in Orlando at the national annual Funnel Hacking Live conference. So we'll be out for 5 days doing everything, all thing marketing. So we can't wait to come back and share a lot of that information with you. So no class next Thursday. So which means we will extend. We'll still have class the last week on the week of the 30th. And then our final class will be December 7th. We will put a bonus coaching session within that week, not next week, the week after, and we'll post it in there.
Okay. And did you say December? I'm sorry, I was reading my notes. You meant October. I don't know. Maybe I heard it wrong.
No,
so just kick it out. We're like, what day is it? October. So just extend your training. Make sure you add that additional week in there, because I'm so excited to go to that conference and just share with you all and get insights. And just like Molly said, it is 100% marketing from the time you wake up in the morning and you leave your hotel, and then you see all these thousands of people, 5,000 people around you, all things marketing, what's working, what's not working, brick and mortar, high level, high ticket, everything. And so when we go to those conferences, we take so many notes, and it's just a game changer. And we're excited to bring all of that to you all.
Yes. Last housekeeping thing that just popped in for me. Kirsten is going to put the rev.com documents here for class 1, class 2, and then the bonus class. And then again, she'll put this follow up here after. I think it takes like 24, 48 hours for the transcription. So the notes will be there. And she made a good point yesterday in our call where go back and listen. Several people said last week they wanted to go back and re-listen to last week about enrollment, about leading, about owning it, about converting, about closing, all of it. So have the document, print it out and listen to it and take notes and pull it up and hack it up and make it your own. That'll work for you. That's your notes. A lot of people learn really well and it penetrates and resonates and solidifies when you have the audio, the visual, and the written word. It really is like the, the Trinity, if you will.
Yeah. And we're going to, like Molly said, we're going to bundle it up. You're going to have it at your fingertips. Anytime you get a new hire, anytime you get a new person in the firm, have them go back and watch all of this goodness.
Yes.
It's there for you, for your lifetime. Good investment. Okay. So let's hit it. That's all the housekeeping. If you have any questions, know that, Kirsten's there. She's going to monitor it and will let us know. So today we are talking about calendaring, closing, conversions, cash flow from marketing, workshops, initial call to scheduling. That is a lot. And so we are going to hit it and dig in. And I'm always saying this, but I'm so excited to have this conversation. I probably sound like a dead horse. Okay, Molly, you want to hit it with, we're going to talk about each of those: calendaring, closing, conversions, and cash flow.
Yeah, so I'm going to kick off with going to calendaring, which honestly is the starting point. So go the calendar, so go closing, so go cash flow, so go the client experience, so go client services, so go marketing, so go the attorney, paralegal, everyone. It is all about flow. But in addition, you can't have flow, you can't have consistency, you can't know the rules without knowing your formula for success. So often we'll hear the calendar is so full, the calendar is too busy, but out of the same side, we will also hear cash flow is down. Our conversions are down. We don't have, but then when we talk about, okay, great, let's do this, this, and this, and this to get some leads, we hear we're too busy. There's no room on the calendar. And we're always scratching our heads. We're like, it doesn't make sense. And the first person we go to is client services, not for a setup, but really to spot check and see, do you guys know your formula for success? So often when you're asked to calendar something, I don't know about you all, but even something as simple and silly as a call with us and you all, or us and your attorney or an outside vendor or any other vendors you work with, you're like, oh my gosh, you break out in hives because of this whole calendar gymnastics. So the goal is to know your formula for success. This is how you know it. And if you all don't know it, go back and ask your attorney. Here's the deal. How many hires do we want a month? Of really just asking them that. Then backing into, there is a method to the madness. There is a formula of knowing, okay, great. Well, then what's step one in our process? We need to get leads. If you don't know your conversion rate just yet, go with this simple number. When we start working with law firms, our average conversion rate is 48.6%. So let's round up to 50%. Let's just assume that your conversion rate's 50%, but it might be, but I can tell you, once you know your number and once you know your formula, it just inherently will increase because you start looking at it every single week. And we're going to go into that, I believe, into class 4 and 5 about how to do that. But knowing for client services and for marketing, how many hires do we need? That tells us we need double the lead. So if we want to get hired 10 plans a month, we know at a minimum, depending on, and here's the deal, if you're doing retail marketing, paid traffic, Facebook ads, Google ads, what have you, all that first and foremost, or only and wholly and solely, and that makes up the biggest chunk of your business, your conversion rates, to be safe and not be in a constant place of panic and sweat, just go with 20%. It hovers anywhere between 20 to 30, but just go with 20 just so you can lean on the air of caution. So 30%. So we know that we need to be bringing in roughly, let's say, 30 leads a month. If you have a healthy balance between referral sources and you know that they convert because you've trained your referral sources, you've trained your facilities well, they don't shoot you in the foot. A lot of times referral sources are really good at sending referrals, but then they don't train them and they don't hire. So for conversation purposes, let's just assume by and large it's coming from retail and or paid traffic with a little bit of referral source and or community-based marketing out there, client referrals, financial advisors, what have you. So then we need to be bringing in roughly 30 leads a month, give or take. Most firms are bringing in 40 to 50, if not more, depending, with just a very average healthy spend, not super, super aggressive and crazy and insane. And then when you know that, you know how many initial meetings do we need? Now, here's the tricky part. Don't do it a month. You have your monthly number, but you have to back into it weekly because this is what happens. It's September 1st, and we're looking at the calendar for September and October. We're not panicking if we don't have enough leads right now for the first week or what have you, because we're like, we got all month. Well, no, that's not true because you still have to, once they hire you, they still need to get through your process and to be able to fully pay for you and for you to fully pay you and for you to fully deliver. So a lot of times people trick themselves that they have all month. It is the shelf life of a week. It's a monthly equation that backs into it, the shelf life of a week that you're looking at in your weekly meetings, you're looking at in your marketing meetings, you're looking at in your daily huddle. So really looking at if your calendar is so full and so busy, but you're not reaching goal, then you need to do analysis. You need to do quality control over and see what all this busy stuff and put the 80% in first. Top revenue producing activities for all, starting with the attorney. So if you have a non-attorney salesperson or a dragon, they're the ones who are handling the initial meetings, and that's not the attorney's 80%. Their 80% might just be design, but then it's marketing or what have you. So really making sure, first and foremost, we're meeting those client appointments because that's how you get paid in the personal service industry. Do we have a healthy balance between initial meetings or vision meetings or get to know yous or whatever you call them, design meetings and signing meetings? And when do we get paid for all this? Some firms get paid up front, which is fantastic. You're like, awesome, we get all of our money up front. But no, not necessarily, because that money doesn't go in the operating account. That money typically goes into the trust account. So the attorney still can't breathe. The paralegal still can't breathe. The client still can't breathe because we haven't delivered on that product. And so we really need to make certain that you know that formula and how we treat money. And we're going to go into that more so in cash flow. So I'm not going to go too deep in that. First and foremost is knowing what is our recipe for success for client services. How many leads? Marketing needs to know that too, because that's their KPI. That's their measuring stick. Don't worry about how we're getting there. Just the question. Then number two, of them, what other client meetings do we need in order to reach our money goals, to reach our goals so we can get out of this vicious cycle called the calendar is too full and we are too busy, making certain that the 80% goes in there first and foremost. So that's for you, client services, getting a hardwired attorney time template. In fact, I'm pretty sure, let me make a note here. I have an attorney time template I'll put in there for a sample. I know we put in there, we'll put it in there again, client services and the marketing coordinator. I don't know if we put these in there yet. Start with the attorney, then client services, and then marketing. So you need the client formula first. Then secondly, you need the stuff that the attorney has to do, primary attorney, owner attorney, marketing attorney, rainmaking attorney, what they need to be doing outside of just client meetings and what have you. So this goes into marketing. And then marketing, really knowing their formula for success. Not that you're responsible for all the doing. You might have outsourced marketing agencies and independent contractors that help you, or it might go into the attorney's calendar and time template. But knowing your marketing schedule and really going into that. I'm going to put here in the comments a sample. So marketing, you're going to go back and ask the attorney what their recipe for success is. So you actually have a marketing calendar in there. And I don't know if it's going to allow me to put this in the comment. Can I put a comment in here as a speaker?
Typically you can, but it might be wonky. So we might have to put it in there afterwards. Sometimes it gives you an attachment for a Word doc, and sometimes it doesn't. Is it a PDF or a Word doc?
No, I was just going to copy and paste his comment. No worries.
Oh, yeah. No, you can put it in there. Yep. You can put it in there.
I'll put it in there while Roz is speaking, and I'll post a comment and put it in there.
Okay.
It's not let me because I'm a speaker.
We'll
Kirsten,
put it in there. Yep. We'll give
I'm
it
going
over.
to email it to you right now, Kirsten. Put in, that's the subject line. Just throw this in there for marketing because it's a lot and you're not going to be able to follow it. So I'm just going to put it in there. I just emailed over to Kirsten. She'll put it in the comments in 2 seconds. But
Perfect.
we will, so marketing, you know yours, and then you get really clear with the attorney. What parts are you doing? Even if they're not writing the blog, even if they're not doing the presentation, maybe you have a non-attorney salesperson that does that. Maybe you have a associate attorney that does that, or somebody, just knowing who's responsible for that so you can get it in the calendar. So go the calendar, so go everything. And there is a formula, there is a standard, there is a precise, like you guys, truly, there is a precise model for success. Attorneys don't believe that. And they don't like to wrap their heads around that typically because it feels like they own a job and it feels a little rigid and it feels a little bit like a straitjacket. And then they hear from so-and-so at the bar association or so-and-so in this Facebook group, lawyer on the beach. Well, they don't do all that and they're rolling in the dough. Well, there was some time they did do that. And if they're not doing it, somebody in their office is doing. So the attorney has full permission to say, not me, I'm not going to do it. I'm just being completely honest. Well, great. Then who is? Let's empower and recruit somebody else in there to be able to do that.
Yeah. And honestly, so often that's the sticking point, guys. Don't underestimate what she's saying there, because so many times, like this was probably, I don't know about you, Molly, but the conversations that I was having with people, this was the number one thing that we had to circle back around to when we were talking about the homework that we've done up to this point. It was consistently they were showing up and it was a calendar. It turned out to be a calendaring piece. So make sure that you are really, really focusing on that and you're really anchoring to it. And if you haven't tried it already, try it now and don't give up. When I first did this, I crumbled it up in a ball and I threw it in the trash can. I'm like, this will never work. Probably did that 5 times. So don't give up on this.
Or as you were saying that, I'm like, or you're like, yeah. Well, I'm just going to take it and put it over here on the bottom of my list because they're going to forget about it and we're never going to do it anyways. Like, be that unwavering stand, because guys, we fully, wholly appreciate your world as client services. On Tuesday's call, somebody was sharing, they're like, I'm losing sleep. I feel like a loser. I'm not getting a personal victory because I have so much follow-up here. We know the heartache. We know the heartache, and we know there's nobody harder on you all than you are on yourself. A lot of times your attorneys would be like, I see how hard you're working. Nobody's questioning how hard you're working, but it still doesn't make you feel like you're a difference maker. It still doesn't make you feel like you are an impact maker. It still doesn't give you that personal victory. At the end of the day, why are we doing what we're doing? For a paycheck? No, I don't know about you, but in my town, you go to McDonald's for $22.50 an hour. So it's not for the paycheck. They can't find people to work in restaurants anymore. It's for the personal victory. It's for being part of a cause in something. And you all, there's not one person here that is doing what they're doing for their paycheck, and that they don't lose sleep over what they're not getting done and what they know is possible as a team. And it doesn't pain you to watch your attorney every day because you see how hard they're working as well, and your teammates.
Yep. So if you're feeling that way, then make sure you go back and you just don't give up on that piece of it. Okay, so let's move into closing. Once you know that formula for success, you know your numbers, you have it down to X leads equals, Y at this conversion rate. When we say closing, what we're talking about, the ultimate goal is money in your hand. So how many new matters, how many hires per month do we need to reach goal? And even breaking that down a little bit more to how many per revenue stream. So how many RLTs, how many APs do we need? How many probates, conservatorships? So we're going to get really, really intentional with the revenue streams now and closing. And when we say closing, again, what we mean is getting the money in hand. And when Molly, you had mentioned dragon earlier, if you all don't know what that means, it's the closer in the firm. It's the person that shows up to close the deal to get the money. And so that is the ultimate goal in all things that you all are doing in the law firm. And so that is getting them from one step to the next. It's the phone call. It's you're taking them through that process, right? It's the phone call to the workshop or the initial consult, the workshop to the initial consult if they're going to workshop first, initial consult to the vision meeting, the discovery meeting, whatever you call them, to the signing meetings. What are those money making appointments? And those guys on your calendar, one of the best things that I ever did when I was in the firm, I made them green with dollar signs. They are, do not move these meetings because there is money attached to them. And everybody in the firm 100% knows that that is a money appointment. It's not a waffle. It's not something that you can move. We are going to make that the biggest priority in the firm. So it's really, really important when you're in the law firm that you all know and you're all really clear when you're working on something. And everybody on this call has something sitting on your desk right now that is attached to money. If you do this, money will come in the door. And so it's really, really important for you all to know where that is and the difference that you can make in the firm by bringing it in. And knowing too, one of the things that I always tell people when we're going through this piece of it is that knowing when all of those conversions along the way that are from, we're just baby stepping. Okay, first they're calling and they just want to know how much we charge for this or when the workshop is, right? All of those little things are tiny baby conversions, tiny baby steps to get to the ultimate goal that is money. That is, these are the steps that they're taking to get to all the steps that it takes to get cash in hand. So I want to talk about what that looks like for each of the different roles for client services and for marketing in your marketing coordinator, in the marketing coordinator role. So with client services, it is taking the initial call, right? And at the very core of that, the most important piece is when you're on that call with them, and we talked about this in the first class, you're pausing and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make notes. I'm going to make sure that I trigger the follow-ups that I need to do. I'm going to do whatever I can to get this initial call to the next step in our process. Because ultimately, that's going to lead to money. It's an additional, all those little steps are the steps that we're taking to get to money. What can I do in the follow-up? Knowing that the close is going to be coming closer. What can I do in the follow-up to get them? I say this all the time. People don't call your office if they're not ready to do some form of engagement with you, because there's a reason. They're staying up at night. They're worried. Something's heavy on their heart or in their mind. And if we can just pause and tap into them and get the conversion, get them closer to the close, that is the signing meeting or the vision meeting or whatever you're going to call it, and being really intentional and being very, very consistent with our follow-up and feeling acknowledged and heard, and knowing that every step of the way in all of those pieces is getting them closer to the ultimate goal, which is money. And again, everybody that is on this call has something that is sitting there on their desk that is probably attached to money. And we just want to be really, really intentional with it, because you're in complete control of that. And what we don't want, and so often we see, is it's maybe taking a more proactive or reactive approach to the phone ringing, the person coming through the door, all of those things. Create systems and processes for you in your role that is always has the eye on, how are we going to get this person? How are we going to get this lead? How are we going to get this conversion closer to the ultimate goal, which is, and I don't want to, I struggle a lot because sometimes I feel like that sounds so money driven, but at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're serving them and you're just getting paid for it. Money is just, that's it. It's just the transaction of it all. And you all are creating so much value in just hearing them when they call. And the number one thing that I think in client services is really supporting them with getting what they need. And that's ultimately in front of the attorney to get the support that they need in a place of overwhelm. Okay, now for marketing, when it comes to close, when it comes to converting, that sort of thing, that is very much more of numbers, KPIs, et cetera, from the place of being very, very in tune with the numbers that we just went over with client services. So we're looking at the conversion numbers, right? From what are they from initial call to workshop, from workshop to vision, all of those numbers, knowing your numbers. And we're going to dig really deep into those as we go through. Marketing, knowing what what the numbers are for client services. Marketing, knowing what the numbers are for each of the attorneys that are out there that are on the front lines. Everybody being super, super responsible to their role and that sort of thing. One of the things that this is the reason why that's so important, guys. And I just want to circle back around to the mastermind that we had. We were talking about it, and one of the common themes was that there was a delay in time or conversions, or the people taking the next step, if you will, from getting the vision meeting to reviewing the documents. And we're like, well, hold on a minute. We all identified that, right? So what we talked about was, what can marketing do to support that? And this is why it's so important for marketing to have that perspective of those numbers, is because, what we said was, we'll create a shock and awe, create an email marketing campaign that gets those people and shares with them, congratulations, you took the first step, but let's continue. Let's make sure that you get what you need. Let's make sure that you are served with what you call this for. So just making sure that you all are having conversations, deep conversations, where the bottlenecks are, where the breaks are, is so important between those two roles. It's really important to have a meeting, a check-in, this is what's broke, this is what's not working. Wait a minute, there's something off here. And that's what I loved most, I would say, about that mastermind call that we had, was we were all having a conversation. And then the true definition of a mastermind was, all right, let's share what we're doing that's working. And what's great about it is, if marketing doesn't know, they can't fix it. They can't do it. They can't support it, but they have at their fingertips. They can launch campaigns. They can launch email marketing. They can be like, let's do a cold calling campaign, et cetera. Go into action mode, if you will, for those numbers when we're seeing a decline, when we're seeing a break that is, hold on a minute, the money is stopping. Wait a minute, we're not reaching goal. And yes, the calendar is a big thing, but it's not the end all be all. So if the calendar's firing and we're still not hitting goal, then there's something wrong with the process, and marketing can 100% step in, but they got to know about it. So it's really important that those two roles communicate when it comes to, okay, we're stuck in closing. And that's what I loved about the mastermind calls. They're like, wait a minute, we're getting stuck with getting these documents reviewed and back to us so that then we can close it and get the money. So it's really, really important that everybody is really clear with your numbers and talking and communicating every point of the way so that marketing can come in and grab on it, do its job, and do whatever it needs to do with an email campaign, blogging, social media, what have you. You can create content with that. So the end game in all of that is money. And I always have my book right here, and I don't have it right now, but if you haven't read You're a Badass at Making Money and you're sitting in either one of those roles, it's such an easy, almost fun read, and it will completely change your mindset on that piece of it. That is, so often I feel like people sometimes they'll be like, well, it's not all about the money. And I'm over here on my soapbox talking about how the close is 100% about money. I want you to think of it in a different way. And that book will completely change your mind with how you think about the part of the end goal being money. And so it's a game changer. It will completely change your energy and your thoughts on all things money, and making sure that you're super intentional with what you do, the role that you do, and how you're serving people, and the difference that you make, and how money is attached to that. Okay. So let's talk now. Let's go into conversions. And so go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
I am going to start digging in, and I bit my cheek a little bit when I thought about going into really throwing out some numbers with you all, but know that the next class, not next week, but the week after that, we're really going to dig deeper into KPIs. But I really want you to start looking at your numbers and thinking about some numbers. So go ahead.
Just before you do, I want to just really, truly make sure that we pull apart, because we're going to go into conversions. When Roz keeps saying it's all about money, that's with the whole definition around closing. So it's all around in connection with the closing. Chris asked a question. I think it's appropriate time to answer this. So my definition for conversion should be the movement between each step in the pipeline, the baby conversions mentioned, not necessarily only closing. Yes and no. And so I really want to make sure you guys know we're going to go into conversions right now. We're going to go into from marketing, from the conference room, from client services, to all the different conversion rates you need to. But as Roz said, closing is about how many do we need to close from initial contact into that next step, whether a workshop or into a initial meeting or get to know you, whatever the terminology that you use. But also, how many did we get a check and a agreement from? And this is where we're going to go into conversion rates, because attorneys will do these wonky things where they say, I had 5 meetings and I closed 4 of them. And we'll come back and we're saying, just to clarify, you have an engagement agreement and a check in hand, right? They're like, well, no, they're gonna do it. They're gonna is not a close. I know there are firms that play these games where they say, well, we do it at this meeting, or we don't do it, or we don't want them to do it right at the meeting. We send out, client services sends it out after, or they're gonna do it and then client services follows up. Client service, pay attention, because that's your time and energy, and you all need to give the data and the information to the attorneys and to the marketing team to let them know how hard that follow-up is. Not only from workshop, not only from initial contact, but the follow-up that occurs after that conference room, after that initial meeting, after that dragon meeting. Really make certain that you fight for yourself in this regard, that you give them a data. It's not an emotional conversation, it's a data-driven conversation about we need to get 5, we need to close. And the definition of closing is check and engagement agreement in hand that I'm physically handing to bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
That is a close. And then we'll talk into conversion. So Christian, yes, it is that conversion should be movement towards each step. I love that you use that terminology. the pipeline, and they are not baby conversions, they're massive conversions, but but closing has its own whole spot on the agenda and its own tracking and measurement. And now we'll go into conversions.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to dig more into the numbers, but just to declare, I love the question that you said. Conversion is any time that a user that you are marketing to takes the desired action that you're directing them to. So knowing that the ultimate goal, right, is for cash to be in hand. And what we're going to talk about is, and I really want to, if this is the first time you're digging into real solid conversions and numbers, watch this again and again and again, and know that it might be fuzzy and might not make sense, but please don't push it away, embrace it, and keep coming back to this conversation around conversions and numbers and that sort of thing. And the more that you do it, the less painful it's going to be, the more clear it's going to be, and it's going to end up being your best, your biggest, and your best friend. And there's some wonkiness in it. So thinking about it, so I'm going to say that again. A conversion is any time a user you're marketing to takes the desired action. The ultimate one is going to be getting money in hand, right? So we might be taking them along this journey, this process of marketing campaigns with baby conversions, right? But the ultimate, the win, the pie in the sky goal is they are sitting in your office and they are writing you a check. And I just want to add one more layer to all of that that's going to make it a little trickier and a little fuzzier. And I could talk analytics all day long. I'm going to try and keep it high level, but they are not all created equal. Just like Molly was saying earlier, you have your conversion or your money in hand that you're getting from your power partner. It's going to be a little bit easier of a close, but it might have cost you more time. Whereas the internet lead is not, it's just going to cost you more money, but it might be a little more wonky, and your conversions could be, your numbers are going to, they are going to be lower. So knowing that they are all not created equal adds another layer of trickiness to it all. And I just want to say this too, before we head into some of these numbers. When I first started looking at numbers sitting in my role as a marketer in the law firm, showing those numbers made me feel so vulnerable. And I was always showing up like I suck. I totally suck. I didn't know what half of them meant. I was having to be called to the table, and I felt like they were all on me, like the weight of the world was on me. That is when you start digging with these numbers and you start knowing them in your bones and in your blood and in your core, and you're living them, and you know all of the steps that you're doing when you're sitting in that marketing role, that takes that away from all of that. Like now I can show up with so much empowerment because I've dug into the numbers. It's not about me. It's about the marketing. It's about it could be your call to action. There could be so many different things. So the point I'm trying to make is I'm really encouraging you all right now to just know your numbers. Just start looking at them. If you have a marketing plan and a marketing budget, one of the homework assignments that I want you all to do this week is get analytics behind anything that you're writing a check for or spending time doing, and just look at them. So often we'll be on the phone with somebody and they're like, well, we're doing this and we're doing that. And we're like, okay, well, can you send us the reporting? And they're like, and they don't have it, or they're not looking at it, and they don't even know. And so number one, I want you to do is go back and look at your marketing plan, look at your marketing budget, look at what you're spending money on, and get numbers behind them, and just know what they are right now. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about what they should mean, but they vary differently based on the goal, the objective, the offer, the campaign that you're heading into. And I'm going to go through some of the numbers from a very high level of what you should be seeing, what you should be looking at, and that sort of thing. Now, when you look at them, if you guys are off, don't go straight to, holy moly, this sucks. We're firing this, we're doing that. No, we want to really get curious and figure it out, because like we were saying earlier, the leads are not all created equally. And we want you to be really, really clear what you're writing a check for, and making sure before you cut anything that you have 100% certainty that it's not working. And that's not always the case in the digital space. In the SEO world, there's a lot of different variables. So just to be responsible to that piece of it, just start knowing where you are right now is huge. It's huge. Okay, so let's dig into some of them. So for client services, the call to initial or the call to workshop, depending on the quality of the lead, well, I shouldn't say quality, depending on where the lead is coming from. So if you're getting somebody that's a lead from somebody that's a power partner, those should be closer to like 80%. And I'm going to kind of go super conservative on some of these numbers, and then we can dig into them more as we go through KPIs. But I really want to give you some things that you can look at and just maybe start questioning, start paying attention to, and thinking about, and just don't make any decisions based on anything that we're throwing out here right now. With website leads and internet leads, that's more like along 30%. From initial or workshop to vision, those should be higher because these people are now, right? They're coming, they have started this conversation with you. They have said, okay, I've come to your workshop, I've observed you, or I've talked, you've invested time with me on the phone. Now let's talk about scheduling the next piece of it. That is, I want to start talking about my unique situation. Those numbers are around 70%. And then from vision to design, those should be around 100%. 100%. If they're already with you and you're not seeing your designs closing at 100%, it's a calendaring issue. It's something outside of that. So we really want you to look at that. If you're not shooting 100%, then we need to make sure that we're getting that number there. And then from design to a maintenance, or a design to even the next action there would be like getting a review, should be 85 to 90%. Marketing, getting really clear on the conversion numbers for client services, which were the numbers that we just shared. Start looking at those numbers and seeing where you are in that ballpark that I just gave you. So for marketing coordinator, you all knowing your analytics. So the homework assignment, remember, was for you all to say, all right, we're writing a check for this. We're doing this in our marketing, getting those numbers really clear. Your cost per conversion is one thing that you all really want to know. How much are we paying, and is it worth it? Is this conversion worth that amount of money? And if we're getting it in our office, is it converting from there? And so that can be tricky. What I want to pause for a minute and just backtrack on that. What I mean is, if your cost per conversion, if you're defining your conversion at that point that we have a button seat for a workshop, how much are we paying for that button seat for the workshop? And then is it converting? So we see how it can get kind of wonky, and you can really dig into the numbers and really get lost in it. And I don't want you to do that. I really want to keep it high level, but you want to know what your cost is per conversion based on the campaign and how much you're paying per lead. So like we were saying before, for paid traffic, another little branch is even going to be a little bit different, a little trickier. And I could go into this really, really deep. I'm going to try not to, but I get super geeked out in the whole thing. So I'm going to keep trying to pull myself out of the weeds. But with your paid traffic, those aren't even created equal. Facebook is way less. Like I've seen conversions at $1.50 to 25, maybe 30 at the most. Whereas Google, it could be closer to 125. So you really want to know what you're paying per lead, where you're putting your money. And you want to be really clear that could even be different. So that can be really different based on where you're putting the money. But your quality of your leads in Google are going to probably be better than what you're getting in your Facebook ads. So you can fill a workshop for cheaper, but your numbers are probably going to be less on your conversions. So talking about your website, that's another thing. If you're in the marketing coordinator role, you want to be really clear what your website is doing, what your click-through rate is for any opt-in or contact us form that you have on your website. You want to be looking at those numbers and seeing if you're getting any. Like you all should have a contact us form on your website or a lead gen tool on your website. Are you getting people opting in for that. You're not really paying for traffic on it. This is a number that you all just need to know is our website converting? Do we even have a way for them to convert? Because sometimes we'll see that we're like, there's not even a way for somebody to opt in easily. And so you should be seeing numbers there, and you should be seeing anywhere between 4 and 10 numbers on your website conversions per month. Another one that's really important that y'all want to get really familiar with is time is money. So we were talking about power partners, right? So getting really, really clear where your attorneys or where you all in a marketing role are spending your time when you're face to face with somebody, when you're having that human interaction. Is your time with that person worth it? So tracking your referrals. Who are our top 10 referral sources? How much time are we spending with them? Time is money. And then making sure that that's converting to money, that that's converting to them giving you referrals and that sort of thing. You got to look at that as we're not just going for a coffee clutch with no call to action at the close of it. You want to get really, really intentional with your time and making sure that you're getting an ROI for the time that you're spending when you're face to face with people and connecting with them. So looking at it from start tracking, the attorney went to lunch for the last 3 months with, Joe Smith. Have they referred us any business, and looking at how much business they're sending you? Like, you should see a line item for your power partners, your top 10, and you should be seeing referrals from those people. Okay, so conversions for your marketing campaigns for both Google and for Facebook. You really want to get really clear on your click-through rate, your cost per conversion, and your cost per acquisition. And again, those are going to be super, super different based on each platform. And I will park these in the comments because I don't want anybody's eyes to glaze over with this. But for Facebook, it's going to be, lower. Again, you're going to probably see a click-through rate anywhere. I've seen 17%, anywhere between 2 and 6. Google, it's going to be 2 and 3. So I will go ahead. Your cost per conversion is going to be cheaper with Facebook. I will park those numbers in the comments. And as you're doing your homework, I really, really want you to ask questions. Again, right now, the name of the game, because we're going to dig a little bit more into KPIs, but I wanted to give you, I know that was probably like, oh, geez, here we go with numbers, but I really want to get you guys comfortable with setting the bar with some of the numbers that you should be hitting or even knowing that are standard in the industry. And again, I can't express enough how I really, truly would. It was just the most painful thing ever when I would have to show up at the meeting with the numbers and you're like, I suck. Like, we don't have this, or this isn't converting in this place. Don't ever think that it's about that. Know that having those conversations are going to empower you to move forward and to do better. Like, I'll just give you an example. We're having conversations with people that are right now like, look, it's September. We're headed into the toughest space in the digital world right now is October, November, and December. People save almost 70% of their budget heading into this fourth quarter, and they will dominate the space. So if you don't know that heading into it, like, let's say we're going to start looking at our numbers right now. If you just went, oh my gosh, these are horrible, we don't ever want to look at them again, and you start looking at them again in January and February, you're going to be like, oh, they're coming back up. It's going to empower you to know, like, we can have those tough conversations with people that are, okay, look, we're headed into fourth quarter. It is the most dominant place in the space. What are we going to do with our budget right now? Are we going to pivot and spend it on something else? Are we going to do engagement campaigns? Are we going to stay steady and strong? Or are we going to do community outreach? Knowing your numbers is one of your best friends. And so really get comfortable with it. Again, remember, homework assignment is really just to get comfortable with your firm, your KPIs where you are now, and then we will build on it.
Yeah. Okay. I know we have 10 minutes left. Just want to really quick. One thing, as Roz was speaking, going back to kind of that closing and conversions, one of the things you really want to look at when you're doing your closings, money and engagement in hand this week, and treating it like a weekly shelf life. As Roz was talking, I want to add one other thing. Making sure you go back and look at, okay, the people that we close this week, did they come from meeting number 1? Example is that sometimes we close 5 people this week. The attorney had 5 vision meetings or what have you, but only 2 of them the attorney closed. The other 3 are back in follow-up. Well, the other 3 that we got hired from might have came from 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago because of the efforts at client services. Client services and marketing, or a campaign that marketing sent out that you targeted them, and it finally triggered them to go ahead and to take action. Maybe they clicked on it, or maybe they replied to a blog or what have you. Marketing and client services, pay attention to that closing. Not all closings are created equal, because then that will tell the attorney, you have to keep me freed up so I can work on the follow-up. It might tell the attorney, you have to make sure that you approve copy and content so we can do the retargeting, so we can keep our nurture campaigns going, what have you, because it just saved our ass this week. And when you're consistently showing that, so not all closing is created equal. And then when you drop down into the conversion rates, I'm going to add one more thing there. So we're doing the conversion rates on marketing initiatives. We're doing the conversion rates on conference room for every attorney, because we might be closing at 100%, but it's all on the guru. It's on the main guy, but he's paying these associates to free him up so he doesn't have to do those meetings anymore, but they're not carrying their weight. We need to know the percentage. A lot of times, it's the main attorney that's shooting it in the foot, and their closing rate is not there. And finally, someone's like, dear God, can I start taking over the initial meetings? Because you're killing the close. And we just had a conference, a meeting last night with someone with a probate paralegal that was like, oh my God, the attorney is killing the close every single time. Can I just take over these initial meetings? We're like, yes, please. And the third thing I really want to put in there is your follow-up folks or client services. There's 2 reasons for this, and marketing. When you are looking at your conversions from the Dialing for Dollars campaigns, from the Client Connect campaigns, from your follow-up calls that you're making every single week, you want to come in with your follow-up folks there to be like, I was only maybe able to make 20 follow-up calls this week. We have 178 people sitting in our pipeline. Well, you're going to use it as a weapon and beat yourself up because you're looking at what you didn't do. But if you're coming and saying, I was able to make 20 follow-up calls and I was able to move 2 or 3 of those forward to schedule the next, to use Christian's language, the baby steps and taking the next right move, that is significant. And you want to come from that again last week, from a place of confidence and clarity and ownership and empowerment, to be like, if I could be freed up to do 40 calls versus 20 calls this week, would you be happy if I scheduled 4 or 5 or 6 additional meetings? When you use it as numbers and you come from the place of what you were able to produce with the resources that you had this week versus from a place of scarcity and lack and not enough time or whatever it might be, it will just infuse and remind everyone to keep you alone, to leave you in your quarantine box, to allow you to follow up on do the follow-up. Or the flip side of it is I followed up with these people, and every week we're looking, you are doing the Client Connect campaign, you are doing the follow-up, and nobody is converting and looking at that. Well, we're going to look at the lead source, or we're going to have a conversation with the attorneys in the conference room or what have you and be like, listen, guys, you're killing me. I'm doing this follow-up and you're doing something wrong in that conference room. You're telling people to think about it. You're telling people it's not that important. They're not moving forward. So help me out here. Like, it's not me. Here's the data for 4 weeks. I'm followed up with all these Facebook ads, which maybe they are junk leads, maybe, but doubtful. Most people are not dying to get on an attorney's calendar and do that unless they're probate. And so like you got to really, every measurement is so critical to support your role, which goes into also the closing. So it's very, very different. When we go into the closing, we go into conversions. Now we're going into cash flow. All 3 of these are different. And they all serve a very, very definite purpose. So cash flow. So often Maybe we're not going to be perfect on closing. We're not going to be perfect on conversions. They're going to juke and jive. One of the firms in the mastermind on Tuesday, they're like, our conversions are in the toilet. They're 30% right now. We are not a 30% firm. And for me, right then and there, and I know to the bone, they are not a 30% firm. Right then and there, it tells me they're down on RMS. They are down on referrals coming from existing clients, past clients, from maybe they're not tracking where
I love that.
it's from PNCs, maybe it's from financial advisors, what have you. When somebody tells me they're down, and this firm is so precise on their marketing, the attorney is a rock star, and the non-attorney closer is a rock star. So right there, I know that they're down on relationships or down on referrals. That's the first area that I would spend my time and energy on. And so when we go into the cash flow part of it, this is why it's different. So we know sitting here on September 16th or what have you, that we're not going to reach goal this month or what have you. Our calendar's a little light. Our conversions are a little light. Our closings are a little wonky or what have you. It's not October is going to be better. No, we have full control of that in every seat in that firm. So often people never look at what's sitting in the trust account. So often people will not look at what's sitting in work in progress, WIP, what's looking in production, what's sitting in what's on our desk. Every role has a cash flow pile. A lot of times people will always say, well, you can't depend on, every law firm has a stepchild. Every law firm has somebody who's not getting the proper time and attention. But it's so interesting because every single time it's that, lost leader that always rises up and saves the day when it gets like a tiny bit of flame or air, i.e. probate and trust admin. They always come in and save the day. And people always think it's luck. People always think that it's a fluke, and it's not. It's not that it's given the proper time and attention, or Medicaid, or any of these one and done things that we have. So the cash flow has nothing to do with closing. The cash flow has absolutely nothing to do with conversions. The cash flow, when you're looking at it, is every week. Where can we go from cash flow, which is basically what is hanging around in our office from a follow-up for client services, leads that haven't moved forward, or people that reschedules and cancels is another way to look at that. From people that have production, 546 trusts that the attorney still hasn't reviewed. The calendar, who can we move up that is already scheduled, that we can call them in a place of pure excitement and celebration that we get to move them up in the calendar because we had a cancellation. I mean, that's how dentist offices and doctor's offices and plastic surgeons and all them are never miss a beat with their monthly cash flow. So looking at cancellations and reschedules, looking at the calendar of who we can move up, looking at what we have sitting, where the bottlenecks are within production, and then looking at the trust account and seeing where, because you're always, when you're anywhere. I have some firms. We have one firm that their monthly revenue goal was $1 million. $1 million. They were $1.50 short, but they didn't find that out till the end of January for the previous year. $1.50 short. That's criminal. That is heartbreaking because they had over $100,000 sitting in their trust account where they could have moved money over. Who can we call for maintenance reviews? Can we refine our maintenance review program? What are we doing here? Can we switch it from annual to monthly? There is never, ever, 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 ever a shortage of solution. The problem is that people spend 80% of their time talking about problems, and flip that and have your conversations about 80% solution. I don't know. I don't know how. Well, the magic question after that is, well, if you did know, what would it be? and people will always have a solution. So really treating all those different buckets from place of closing, conversion, and cash flow separately. Put them on your agenda and hit them all separately. Don't put them all into one melting pot.
Yeah. And I just want to say that having those conversations, those open conversations, because when I hear those kinds of things, like you're $1.50 short, or we're just not getting it, from vision to design, what have you, having open conversations with your team and thinking, what can marketing do to support you, is the number one question you all should be having open conversations about. Because just like you were talking about earlier, Molly, you're like, okay, we have these 200 people that I need to call and I was only able to get to 80. That's a beautiful opportunity for a retargeting campaign, an email campaign, some type of offer or thing that you can do to move the needle. The open conversations that you all are having as a team, and marketing thinking, what can we do to support this endeavor? That they kick in. Like I just go bonkers when I hear that kind of stuff, because I'm like, oh, simple, we'll do this. You go into solution mode and you know the things that work. So have those conversations together as a team.
Yeah. And I love that, because you can always, we were on a call with a firm where they're like, can't get to follow up, or like, great, have the attorney record a video and send it out. Employ a texting strategy. There is no shortage where it's not only on client services, not only on marketing, it's not on the attorney. It's a team-centric approach.
Yep.
And is it ideal? No, it's not. It's going to, right now, it's going to fill in until client services can be freed up, but maybe it becomes of the overall value stock. Great. All right. Top of the hour. Comment. Engage in the group. We will go ahead and set up a call for the week of the 27th. I will get those 3-time templates for attorney, client services, and marketing coordinator, and we will get them posted in the group. Reminder, no class next week.
Yes. And then homework is to find out what your numbers are, where you're sitting now. No judgment behind it. No decisions are to be made. Just starting to get really, really clear with your numbers.
Yeah. All right. Go get them.
Bye.